I'm currently standing in one of my absolute favourite spots in the Seychelles. This here is Grand Anse on La Digue Island. La Digue is the fourth largest of the Seychelles Islands, and in this video I'd like to show you around the island and I hope you enjoy it. We'll start off with the spectacular colour of the water here. Just look at it. This bright, vivid turquoise colour always takes my breath away whenever I see it. But anyway, let's go backwards a bit. How did I get here in the first place? Of course, I came here with the island's main means of transport, by bike. I rented a bike as soon as I arrived at the harbour from one of the different rental stands there, and this cost between €5 and €10 per day. Finally, I'm once again on my favourite Seychelles island, La Digue, and I'm cycling across the island at the moment. You probably just saw that car pass me by then. Although the bike is still the main means of transportation on the island, along with the traditional but slowly disappearing ox cart, there are more and more cars on La Digue. The total number of vehicles on the island is limited, but there are a couple of taxis and a handful of small trucks on La Digue. Some of the island's hotels have also decided to start using electric vehicles to transport their guests around the island. At the end of the day though, this is a calmer and quieter solution than motorised vehicles. Whatever the case, I decided to use the traditional bike method and set off towards the south of the island. I've travelled about 2 kilometers south now from the harbour where I rented the bike, and I'm now at a sort of crossroads on the island. As you can see here, this is the location of the island's helipad, and just over there across the water is Plantation. This crossroads splits into two. One path leads to Grand Anse, a beautiful beach that I'll show you in a minute, while the other path leads to Anse. Like I said though, we'll start off with Grand Anse. As you probably remember, we started the video on Grand Anse, so you already know of the beautiful turquoise water that you can find there. What you might not already know, however, is just how easy it is to reach the beach by bike. There's a really well built path through the jungle. There are a few uphill sections which can be tricky, but of course this is balanced out by the easy downhill sections that come after. In total, the journey from the harbour to Grand Anse takes about 20 minutes. La Digue is really small, just 5 kilometers by 3 kilometers in size, so every spot on the island can be reached swiftly. Anyone who makes their way to Grand Anse and still has some energy left can take the small path that leads to the two beautiful neighbouring beaches of Petit Anse and Anse Coco. On all three of these beaches, swimming can be dangerous, so pay careful attention to your surroundings as the currents can be relatively strong here due to the lack of coral reef protection from the open ocean. Anyone who wants to avoid swimming completely can enjoy this small beach restaurant. The restaurant serves up a traditional Creole lunchtime buffet consisting of freshly caught fish, rice, salads, curries and other typical Seychelles cuisine. And all of that right on the beach. What could be better? The quality of the restaurant is no longer a secret, and its reputation has spread across the island. Therefore, the owner of the restaurant is in the middle of extending it in order to take advantage of this fact. I do hope, however, that it doesn't lose its authentic beach hut charm in the process. So now it was time for me to leave Grand Anse, so I got back onto my bike and took the jungle path one more time. I think it's clear that I'm far from the sportiest person, and where the air humidity is high on the island, you're certain to sweat a little bit. Thankfully, however, there are numerous so-called fruit shops along the way, many of which offer fresh cooled fruity juices, small snacks and other light refreshments. For example, here you can enjoy freshly opened coconuts with coconut water and even delicious coconut pieces as well. I'm currently filming in a fruit shop owned by Simon, and this is probably my favourite one on the island. So if you're ever here, I'd really recommend stopping by Simon's shop. After cycling through the heat of the jungle, I really think I've earned this drink, and thanks to Simon for freshly squeezing the fruit for me. I can tell you, it's really good. And now we're off to the most beautiful beach in the world. You'll probably remember the helipad crossroads from earlier on in the video. I cycled back there, and this time I took the other path, towards Anse. This is, according to numerous sources, the most beautiful beach in the whole world. Publications such as National Geographic magazine have contributed to this reputation, and the beach now ranks among the most frequently photographed locations in the Seychelles. One of my favourite things to do here is walk through the imposing rocks and under the palm trees that run alongside the beach. I'll just show you that in a little time lapse. Enjoy! The Seychelles are a top wedding and honeymoon destination, and Anse d'Argent is probably the spot where most couples tie the knot, in this exact location here. By the way, anyone who isn't really comfortable riding a bike can also get to the beach using what I call the fake ox cart here. As you can see, this used to be a real ox cart. These days it's been converted into a small truck. You can see a real traditional ox cart behind it, but there's currently no ox pulling it. Anse d'Argent is located in the Union State Park on Digue. This is a huge fruit, vegetable and spice plantation. It is privately owned, so there's an entrance fee of around €10 per person per day once you account for exchange rates. This fee, however, pays for more than just entrance to the beach. There's also a giant tortoise breeding station, an old pirate cemetery, and parts of the plantation itself to see. So this here is the Union State Park in the south of Digue. It's an old coconut plantation, but these days it's used as a vanilla plantation. The locals say that this is by far the most delicious vanilla that's grown anywhere in the world. Whether that's true or not, the islanders do have a unique method of growing it. They use old coconut shells in which they plant the vanilla plants, and this makes it easier for them to lay down roots, improving their growth rate. Anyway, I'm currently on my way back towards the north of the island now, where the harbour town is, because my day on Digue is unfortunately coming to an end. My impressions to take away today are that the island is becoming more and more well developed. For example, the paths and roads are becoming more defined, and the infrastructure here is now really good to make your holiday simple. For example, the island's home to banks, shops and a well-stocked supermarket. Therefore, there's everything you need for a self-catering holiday. This includes imported goods such as Nutella and Kellogg's cornflakes. That said, these imported goods do tend to be quite expensive, so you can really save money if you decide to buy local products instead. You can also decide to shop in the local mini markets, most of which are owned by the locals themselves. This way you can save even more money and experience the typical island atmosphere a little more easily. As with almost everywhere on the island, you can pay using euro here, but you'll always get Seychelles rupees back as change. If you're staying on Digue in one of the many self-catering accommodations and you don't fancy cooking your own food, there are also a number of restaurants that you can enjoy, which range from takeaways and buffets to hotel restaurants. So I've told you a fair bit about Digue already, but believe me when I say I've only scratched the surface of what the island has to offer. The Eagle's Nest in the centre of the island, the beautiful beaches on the east coast of the island, and the Verve Reserve where you can see numerous rare bird species are just some of the things I've left out. Another tip would be the nearby Coco Island Marine Park, with its numerous satellite islands. I filmed a video here before called Holiday Tips for Digue, an excursion with Jonathan. I'll link to this video in the description below. We also took some beautiful aerial footage of Anse d'Argent and Grand Anse, both of which you saw in this video, and I'll link to those videos too. Have a look at all those videos and I'm sure you'll want to visit Digue for yourself. As far as I'm concerned, despite the increases in building work, Digue was and still is my favourite island in the Seychelles. Have fun if you ever decide to visit.